Welcome to the Nice Catch Podcast. We're here to catch you up on all the latest football news and analysis. I'm Baden.
And I'm Hank. Today we're discussing recent headlines and sharing our own fantasy football analysis. It's that time of year.
Yep.
We're moving towards one of my favorite seasons of the whole year. Not spring, summer, fall, or winter, but fantasy football season.
Oh, yeah.
The energy that brings every Sunday, knowing that my players are going to carry me today. Well, I mean, normally, hopefully.
Hank's players are going to carry him. Baden's players might do something different.
Yeah. So before we start, I want to introduce our special guest for the day. Well, I'll introduce my special guest. You can introduce yours. My special guest is my brother, Tucker. And
here's my special guest named Rocky, who is also my younger brother.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, we're all four of us are in a fantasy football league with several of our friends, so we figured it would be fitting to have our brothers on today, and because they're awesome. Hopefully you can trust mine and Baden's analysis, but you can probably trust these guys' analysis, maybe even
most
more.
Of my analysis is just things Rocky has told me that I've said no way, and then I just come on here and I say exactly what he says.
Yeah, exactly. You gotta you gotta be like, Rocky, no, you don't know what you're talking about. And then
and then he's listening to the podcast and he's like, wait, I said that. And I'm like, no.
So,
yep.
Well, to start off, let's cover some of the recent headlines. Recent headlines for us is, again, it's always hard covering headlines while we're recording like a week before it's going to release. But QB market, I mean, this is always a headline. It's definitely been a huge thing the past couple weeks, past couple months, with seeing record-breaking deals from guys who aren't necessarily the top of the league. Most recent being Jordan Love being the highest paid NFL player. And so this is just the place that the QB market is in, is that every new deal means a record-breaking deal. And so that provides certain consequences. Maybe even certain benefits for teams. And so if you look at the top three highest paid NFL players, Jordan Love, $55 million, Trevor Lawrence, $55 million, Joe Burrow, $55 million, and then Tua, $53 million. Those are the most recent ones, the highest ones. So what are y'all's just initial thoughts on all of that?
I'll start off and I'll just say that, in this podcast, we've been hyping up Jordan Love and what he's been doing. And I think that this is a step, it's very questionable whether or not Jordan Love deserves a 50, he's getting a lot of money. But I think it's a step of the Packers making a very clear statement, this is our guy, and we think that he's going to take us pretty far. And that's what we've been saying. We've been really talking up the Packers, if you've listened to our earlier episodes. And I think this is the Packers saying, hey, we trust this guy. This is our guy. And, he could be taking him to he could very likely be taking him to a Super Bowl this season. So I think this is a step for the Packers, for Jordan Love, just putting their trust in him. That kind of sounds weird, but kind of establishing that he's the guy that we're going to go with. And I think that's big after, him sitting behind Aaron Rodgers, him kind of being in the background for so long, and then coming up last year and really proving himself. I think this is, whether he deserves $55 million or not, it's kind of a show of the Packers standing their ground. So that's what I think about that.
Good. Tucker, Rocky, what do y'all think?
As it relates to the Jordan Love situation, I think it's crazy that in the beginning of the season, after the Raiders game, he was, people are questioning benching Jordan Love after their poor performance. And now just a few months earlier, he is tied high paid with Joe Burrow. And Joe Burrow has had, 3 seasons of success before, and Jordan Love had about 12 games. I just think it's crazy what 12 games can do for a player.
I just think it's crazy. He's doing great, but just not being one of the top players in the league, just getting paid this much, I think it's just kind of crazy.
Yeah. That along with Trevor Lawrence and stuff, and Tua, those are all good players. But you would expect to see like Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson be getting paid those big numbers.
Yeah.
And, they're obviously not they're not in poverty. But you're seeing some big contracts to some players who are not necessarily, at the best. It's just interesting to see, what those teams are doing. And then you think, if this, depending on how this season goes, like, could that money have been distributed other areas, But I guess, especially looking at the Jags, you have some weak points, and you just paid your quarterback who is good, but he's not Patrick Mahomes, such a big contract. Like, could you have spread that money out, and unless you're just super scared he's going to leave or something, like, I don't know. It's just interesting.
Yeah. For reference, Patrick Mahomes is tied for the 11th biggest contract in the NFL for $45 million. So he's getting paid $10 million less than these top guys, contract-wise. I mean, obviously he is the top guy, NFL-wise. Deshaun Watson is still getting paid $46 million. Funny to see that was a mind-blowing deal that he was getting paid as much as he was. Of course, a lot of it was the guaranteed money.
Yeah.
But it's almost $10 million less than the top right now.
Yeah.
It just shows how quickly this is progressing. And then Lamar, who you were mentioning, is $52 million, so $3 million less than the top guys.
Yeah.
And what it seems like we're all saying, and it's definitely my opinion, I would much rather see teams prove they can be the guy before they get the money, instead of teams saying, here's the money, we know you can be this guy. Because, you look at dead cap hits. Russell Wilson is still getting paid over $50 million by the Broncos. Yep. Kirk Cousins still getting paid close to that much by the Vikings. You just never know how it's going to work out. I could see last year if someone was like, hey, Kirk Cousins is going to finish out the next 5 years of his career all with the Vikings, even win a Super Bowl. Super Bowl may be a little far-fetched, but you have Justin Jefferson. You had a good defense. I can see that happening. But we now see monetarily it was a terrible decision. And so when you even look with how it's progressing, a few years ago, Dak won a $40 million. $40 million was insane then.
Yeah.
So it just shows how that's progressing. And so maybe people like Jordan Love, who their teams think he will be a top dog for the rest of his career, are actually, in theory, saving money by paying him now instead of waiting till it's $70 million a year. That's my overall thoughts on it.
For sure.
I'd rather their play say, show me the money.
Yeah.
And if the NFL managers are just looking for somewhere to send their money, I'm right here. We have a podcast. We'd love to get some merch out. If you have a couple extra million that you just don't know where to put, you could give a bigger contract to your quarterback or Hank Baden Brink.
Yeah.
I'm just throwing that out there for all the NFL managers listening to this podcast.
It sounds like a good idea to me, right?
Me and Rocky will take a cut too.
Yeah. We'll give Tucker and Rocky a little cut.
We'll give
too.
all of our features a little cut.
Yeah, how much royalties is one feature? Yeah, Cohen gets a little bit
Cohen
too.
Gets a little cut.
Yeah, he was only on for 10 minutes, so Tucker and Rocky got a whole episode.
Exactly. They get maybe a little bit more, but
yeah. Shout out Cohen. It's great having I'm not want to say a non-football guy, a guy who doesn't run a podcast rate some uniforms for us. It was an outside source instead of someone who is immersed in the media that said the Broncos uniforms stink, which they
do.
Kind of do. Can the Broncos just not go back to all-time throwbacks? Those are some of the best jerseys in the NFL.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't know what you have till you lose it.
Yep. Speaking of new uniforms, you see the Packers got the all white helmet. It's okay, but that's just kind of it's kind of cool
when they're playing y'all.
Yeah. Really?
Yep. Week 7 against the Texans. Yep.
Yeah.
Hey, well then.
The all white.
Those white uniforms about to be pretty dirty.
Yeah, seriously.
Yep.
Knowing your defense.
Yep. Yeah, I saw that. I like all the all white uniforms. You got the Bengals all white. That looks really good. That's only one uniform. I'm just sure there's more that are all white.
I mentioned this in our uniform episode. One hill, I'm not going to say die on this hill, but a very strong opinion I have is that the Cowboys Thanksgiving Day uniforms are the best whiteout uniforms in the NFL. White pants.
I remember you saying that.
White jersey with the blue sleeves with the star on the shoulder pad. White helmet.
Iconic.
And just so clean. Like,
Yeah.
Maybe it's just that, like, the players, I don't know, it sounds so weird. The players, like, wear it really well. You know, you get
sure.
CeeDee Lamb and Trayvon Diggs.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think Tucker hates that take. I've told him that before.
He's
still
shaking
think
his head.
The Bengals are better. The Bengals whiteouts
The Bengals
are better.
whiteout is not better.
That's my opinion. Just say.
Fight.
Yeah.
No, we do not.
We'll save this for our
condone
Madden
fight.
games later today.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no.
Yeah, we already know Rocky's going to win.
Oh yeah. We're good.
We already
in the
know
bag.
Baden is not going to win.
All right, on that note, let's move on to some fantasy analysis.
Oh, yeah.
This is the fun part. This is the one that will get us some publicity, right? Because our friends may not listen to like an hour-long episode on what a hypothetical NFL expansion would look like, even though I love talking about that.
Oh, yeah.
But they'll listen to some fantasy analysis, especially if there are people in their leagues who they want to, get a leg up against.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I've said, oh, yeah, like on repeat. That's just the interjection I'm using today.
Every time I edit our podcast episodes, I'm like, I cannot say, well, what is it? Is it
Oh,
I think it's I cannot. Oh, no, it's I think. Yes. I say I think all the time. So apologies to listeners that I say that. Working on it, but we're not pros yet. So working on it.
Not yet.
As
We're close, but
Yeah,
we haven't
so close.
quite.
Hey, we have listeners in 2 countries now.
That's true. We're moving up in the ranks.
Yeah, if you're listening in not the U.S., then maybe you're the third or the second one.
Yeah.
But either way, hey, thank you for listening.
Thank you. We really appreciate it, honestly.
Yes.
This is just something really fun that we get to do, and so it's just really fun that people are actually listening.
Exactly.
All right, where do we want to start?
I think a good place to start, if y'all don't mind sharing this much, do y'all want to start with the top 5? Just our overall top 5.
Okay.
So we can do just go in a circle 5 times.
All right.
All right. So I'll, Baden, you start, because I'll save the most interesting for last.
Okay.
Because it's not Christian McCaffrey over here.
Well, okay, I will say I'm going to start at number 5. Someone who I did not even know the name of. I didn't know that this was a player in the NFL until I needed a running back in fantasy and got him. Travis Etienne.
Okay.
Incredibly consistent.
Jaguars.
For the Jaguars running back in fantasy, just taking fantasy points alone, he was actually killer the last 2 seasons in fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
Like pretty consistent, always. I'm not exactly sure. A lot of my family likes big numbers, so we bump up the points in fantasy football. But like consistently over 20 points, which for regular is probably like 13.
Yeah, I've had him a
points.
couple times, and
for I find him to be pretty consistent. I'll go 4. This is not prepared. I'll just say I'm winging it, but I'm confident in all my answers anyways. Justin Jefferson. I think it'll be a little different. Just we'll have to see how. New quarterback. We'll have to see how that goes. But Justin Jefferson's Justin Jefferson. And so he always racks up points. I have been sorely beaten with somebody having Justin Jefferson many times. And so got to have him on there. 3, I'll go Tyreek Hill. Same thing. I mean, he's just he always open. He's getting yardage. He's the number 1 target. Always racking up points. I'm think I
you got 2 more.
Christian McCaffrey. I'm just gonna go ahead and put him at 1, mainly just because I'm a big fan, but also like you'll have 2 or 3 games where he might not have as many points, but like consistently over the projection. If he's projected to get 13, he's getting 15. He's getting 16. Like. Almost every game, he's over the projection. Mm-hmm. And that's really, like, what you need. because there's nothing more disappointing than being projected to win by 5 points, and then your star player gets nothing, gets 5 points under their projection, and you lose. That's the single most disappointing feeling in fantasy football. And I don't know, quarterbacks, they don't always rack up the points. I mean, you could of course throw Travis Kelce in there. He's gonna get targets. He's gonna get yardage, but I don't think he's number 2. Number 2, I'm going to go CeeDee Lamb, which that's what ESPN says, and I don't really like CeeDee Lamb that much. I'm not a big Cowboys fan, but
Hey, for good reason.
But he had some monster games last year, and he is going to be the number 1 target. He's going to be getting the ball, and it's going to be really annoying. But yeah, I think I'm going to go ETN, Justin Jefferson, the other person that I said, and then CeeDee Lamb and Christian McCaffrey. I said Tyreek Hill.
Yeah.
As at 3.
Good.
So that's my very rough prediction. I probably won't end up getting any of those people. So, but I think those are going to be some big people to watch out for when we get to fantasy football.
My top 5 apparently wasn't as interesting as I thought because 4 of your 5 players are in my top 5. So not quite the same order. But Rocky?
I would say my top 5. 5, I'm going to put Puka Nacua.
Wow.
Big surprise player from last year. But I would say he was just a very consistent wide receiver, and you always see that out of wide receivers. And he's not always going to be the number 1 guy when it comes to defensive guarding him, because you'll always have Cooper Kupp out there drawing eyes. So I would definitely say Puka at 5. At 4, I would go. I'm going with A.J. Brown. He was definitely inconsistent towards the end of the season last year.
Very.
But I just love watching him play, and he can always have a big breakout game. So he's my 4. I would say 3, I'm putting CeeDee Lamb there. There's still one receiver that I trust over CeeDee Lamb, which would be my 2 spot is Justin Jefferson. And I've had 4 wide receivers on here so far. But 2 is definitely Justin Jefferson. I think with, their quarterback now who's
either Sam Darnold or J.J. McCarthy.
Yeah.
I think Darnold would get the nod, but not sure.
I think with bad quarterback play, you tend to just force it to the same guy. There's not a lot of spread around the ball. So I think Justin will get a lot of targets. And I think my number 1 guy is definitely Christian McCaffrey. He's just the most. Nothing's really changed for him this offseason. He has basically the same team. And so I think with stability, I'm hoping that's just a stability in numbers. He'll be the same guy.
Nice.
Boom.
Tucker?
Yeah, I guess I'll start at number 5. It's a little bit different, but yeah, I have Justin Jefferson at number 5. Obviously, he's gonna do good, just no matter where he is, unless he gets injured again.
That's true.
Injuries are always just part of football, but yeah, I have him at number 5. I have Amon-Ra St. Brown number 4. I just see him. He had a good season last year. Just had some pretty strong breakout games. I can see him just having a strong season again. Then Tyreek Hill number 3, just crazy. That's so fast. I mean, him and Tua just working it out really well. And then I'll have Christian McCaffrey at number 2. Best running back, but I still have CeeDee Lamb above him at number 1. Honestly, I don't love CeeDee Lamb that much, but I see him doing really well this season.
For sure. We're fighting after this.
Yeah. See, well, that's surprising to me because I've been really diving deep into fantasy football rankings, and who my main competitor happens to live in the same house as me, and is sitting directly to my right now.
And is also wearing a Christian McCaffrey jersey and just put Christian McCaffrey at 2. I just want to throw that out there.
Honestly, I did not even think about that. That's fine.
Continue.
Looks at my rankings, which I told him, hey, don't look at my rankings because, he's my main competitor.
You left it sitting there.
Okay, fair. But makes fun of me for putting CeeDee Lamb at number 1 overall and proceeds to put CeeDee Lamb at number 1.
Okay, that was about 3 weeks ago. Just saying that. 3 weeks ago.
He's changed.
You're just saying, oh, I'm sorry. I realized you're right.
He said, it was just a phase.
I don't know. I think I already knew that you were just wrong.
That doesn't even make any sense. Anyway, my number 5 or top 5, pretty similar to what y'all were saying. Number 4 will be a little bit of a surprise. So, number 5, Tyreek Hill.
Okay.
Obviously. Yeah. I mean, speed, route running, catching ability, plus Tua, who may not be, I mean, he's not Patrick Mahomes, but, I mean, he's obviously supported a top wide receiver and has the arm to continue to do that and the offense to maybe even do more.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Tyreek Hill's not too many years away from the wheels falling off, but I don't think it's this season.
Yeah.
Number 4, none of y'all mentioned this guy, but I'm really high on him this season, is Saquon Barkley.
Okay.
Yes, Jalen Hurts may steal some goal line touchdowns, but we're watching one of the most dynamic running backs in the NFL move to a team where he doesn't have to be the focal point anymore. Can be, but the Giants overused him because of that, and that's why he was always injured.
Mm-hmm.
So, and he gets to work behind an amazing offensive line. So I think this is really similar to what the McCaffrey move was an injury-prone running back, injury-prone, in quotations there, moves to a stacked offense, and after that he returns to his prime. I think that's what we're going to see with Saquon. Sure, maybe some goal line touchdowns stolen, but one of them, I mean, I have him as the second running back. Obviously, Christian McCaffrey I have above him, but I have CMC at number 3.
Okay.
Got a little rhyme in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just a little wary of putting him at 1 again because it generally players don't repeat number 1 performances.
Okay.
So just looking at trends, I'll keep him at 3 because I don't think he's going well. Sorry, Baden. Yeah, fight me.
I'm making a creepy face right now, by the way.
I have 2 players above him. Number 2, Justin Jefferson. I mean, like Rocky said, Sam Darnold, J.J. McCarthy, they're not Kirk Cousins. I mean, they're definitely not Patrick Mahomes, but Kirk Cousins, I mean, supported a very good wide receiver in Justin Jefferson. But both these guys can throw the ball. Aaron Jones will make it where Justin Jefferson isn't the only offensive option, but he can do all that he has done. But I think that we'll see, because there isn't a star quarterback or a star running back, relatively, the offense, like Rocky said, again, will run through Justin Jefferson, which will make him really rack up points. And number 1, CeeDee Lamb. Contract drama does scare me some. And, I mean, maybe the chemistry with him and Dak isn't what it was after the Packers game. But he should have an even higher target share than last year. And I'm betting on the chemistry to come back with he and Dak. So I think this is going to be a league-winning season from CeeDee Lamb.
All right.
So there's my top 5. If you didn't want to fight me afterwards, then, well, try to beat me in Madden.
But, well,
Rocky already got you.
Hey,
sorry, yeah.
But before we even move on, I just want to see, Hank, have you looked at the ESPN projections? Because if you haven't, don't pull it up, because I want you to.
Oh, you want me to guess?
Yes.
Okay.
So number 1, of course, Christian McCaffrey. Number 2, CeeDee Lamb. What do you think? Just guess. See if you can guess 3 and 4.
3 and 4.
3, both running backs.
Okay. ESPN. Is this PPR?
I
assume
yes,
it is.
Yes, it is.
Number 3 and 4, both running backs.
Yeah.
Oof. Is Saquon on there?
No.
No Saquon? All right.
He's probably studying this all the time.
It's not who you think.
Not who I think, ESPN. All right. We'll see what the pros think, because they are the pros for a reason.
That's
but,
true.
There's a reason that people don't trust rankings. Not who I think. 2 running backs. Who are the top running backs in fantasy?
Number 3 was not a top running back last year. Until the last few weeks, he did good.
I'm assuming Bijan Robinson.
He's at 4.
Okay.
Bijan Robinson's
and
at 4.
And then Jahmyr Gibbs.
Brees Hall is at 3.
Hall. I should have guessed that. See, He's a little injury prone.
That's what, like, I guess when I think about it, last season it's hard to compare because mid-season he was injured, and he did really execute the last, I don't know, 3 weeks. He got some fantasy points, but like at 3 and 4, and like you're putting that over Tyreek Hill, Amon-Ra St. Brown, over Justin Jefferson, Saquon Barkley, Derrick Henry, Travis Etienne, who both executed. Well, actually, Derrick Henry is never that great in fantasy. He has like 3 good weeks, and then because he's just the way he plays isn't necessarily fantasy points prone. So that's not a good comparison. But like Travis Etienne way overplayed those 2 guys. It's just interesting. And then Joe Mixon is already questionable in ESPN fantasy.
Yeah, naturally.
The season is how many weeks away? Like. The actual season, over a month away.
From when we're recording, it'll be 2 or 3,
4 or 5 weeks away, and he's already questionable. But I don't know. It's just interesting to see Breece Hall and Bijan that high, and who knows? I can't really talk because I never do well in fantasy. But
so you'll get 12th this year, right?
Yes, I will get 12th. First time we played, I got 14th. Second time, 13th. So we're counting on 12th. I told Hank that if we keep this fantasy league for the next 12 years, I will be number 1. So
fair.
Yep.
All right, Rocky. I'm going back and I'm making our number 5s and just looking at who all we mentioned. Doing a little overall analysis. I think I got my notes wrong. Did you mention CeeDee Lamb?
CeeDee Lamb was my number 3.
Okay. So CMC was 1. Justin Jefferson was 2.
Yep.
Tyreek Hill was not on there.
Tyreek Hill, I did leave him out.
Okay. Just want to make my notes. So, hey, we'll see. So, the only people that all of us mentioned... Sorry.
Bless you. Wait, no.
We're all good. Hey, we're real. We're people, too.
Yep. Everybody coughs. Even us.
We've just been talking too much. So, we all mentioned Christian McCaffrey. I was actually the lowest one to rank him at 3. We all mentioned CeeDee Lamb. Rocky was the lowest to list him at 3. We all except Rocky mentioned Tyreek Hill. Every single one of us mentioned Justin Jefferson.
Mm-hmm.
Baden was the only one to mention ETN. Rocky was the only one to mention Puka. Tucker was the only one to mention Amon-Ra, which I would also throw in. Amon-Ra did get me a lot of fantasy points last season after tearing his pectoral muscle totally off the bone. I don't know if y'all read about that, but
no, I did
he
not.
revealed because he with some of the other receivers plus a tight end and George Kittle. I mean, if you're making a documentary, George Kittle's always a good person to include.
You're gonna get views.
Yeah. Revealed that I think it was week 5, tore his pectoral totally off the bone, missed 1 game, and then played the rest of the season. Yeah. So if he's healthy and actually has both of his pectoral muscles on his bones, I mean, he could be even better.
Mm-hmm.
Then I was the only one to mention Saquon.
Okay, yeah.
So there you go. It's a little unique.
For sure.
So that's our top 5. Y'all want to move into a time of listing some fantasy sleepers, throwing out some people that we think are undervalued. So it can be either people like maybe they're going in like 10th round, but we think they should be a little higher, or people who we just think like, they're maybe their 2nd or 3rd round, but we think are worthy of a 1st round.
Yeah. Just
someone sleeper undervalued. Who are some of y'all's picks?
Okay, I have one that actually Rocky put in his top 5. I had him as a sleeper was Puka Nacua. Because for the same reasoning as Rocky, he is the number 2 target behind Cooper Kupp. But what that also means is the coverage is on the best DB, the best coverage is on Cooper Kupp. So that's going to leave a really good number 2 option for Puka Nacua. And so I think, that's set for fantasy-wise, that's a really good look because he's going to get some, he's going to get some drop downs. He's going to get check downs, and he's definitely going to get some receptions and some yards. And so I think I had Puka Nacua as a sleeper, which Rocky put as a top 5. That one was really my biggest one. If you'll come back to me. Anybody else have any good sleepers?
Not sure how much of a sleeper this is. I've kind of just thought about this the past couple months, but I think C.J. Stroud is going to be way up there with the quarterbacks. I think could pretty easily be top 5 at least. Bringing in Diggs and Joe Mixon too. I just have a really good offense. I think I could see C.J. Stroud being way up there.
For sure.
Yeah.
And then you got also guys like, there's some players that they're good to have on your bench. If you're playing a team that maybe you think is going to be a shootout or a team that isn't that good. Like deep threats, like two people that I have in mind are like Keon Coleman and
Xavier Worthy.
Xavier Worthy. Like, yeah, they're not going to be probably getting maybe consistent targets, but a 85-yard bomb touchdown that's getting you points. And so, guys like that maybe aren't getting as many receptions as people like Tyreek Hill, Justin Jefferson, but you're getting those long bomb touchdowns. I think those are some players that could be good to watch out for. Mid-season, you see them racking up points. A couple weeks in, sign them, get on your bench.
Yeah, I had Keon Coleman on my list too, and yeah, I mean not only a deep threat because there are many. All of the Bills wide receivers are kind of either unproven or Curtis Samuel was good, but it's going to move him back. Yeah, hopefully returning to his prime. And so Keon Coleman has one of the best jump balls in the NFL right now. I've compared him to DeAndre Hopkins again and again. So he could be DeAndre Hopkins-esque. So I think he'll be a sleeper, not just a deep threat bench stash. But in my opinion, I think he could be a starter. Maybe even, starter, wide receiver 2, at least a flex option.
All right.
But we'll see. Maybe he'll end up being number 3 in the depth chart, but I just don't foresee that.
Okay.
I would say my sleeper pick, Romeo Doubs.
Ooh.
As we see Jordan Love getting paid big money, I think we're going to see a big passing game from the Packers. And I think their number 1 right now listed is Christian Watson. But as we know, last year wasn't his biggest year. He, I think, was injured almost the whole year. Didn't play well at all. And so I think their best options at wide receiver are Dontavion Wicks, did I say that? Jaden Reed and Romeo Doubs. And I would say out of those 3, the one I would trust the most, especially in third down situations, would be Romeo Doubs. I think he'll be getting the bulk of the targets in that class because I don't know how much consistency you have in those 4 receivers that I just listed. But I would say Romeo Doubs is my favorite Packers receiver as it comes to just being consistent and there for the targets. And I would say in a passing game, I think that the Packers would be very heavy passing. With Jordan Love, I think Romeo Doubs will be getting a lot more targets.
I like Jaden Reed as the Packers' number 1, but Romeo Doubs, I think he'll get a lot of points. I think Christian Watson is overrated, like what you think, in the Packers' wide receiver depth chart. The Packers are kind of in a similar situation to the Bills, except a year ahead. So maybe the Bills will strike gold like the Packers did and just have a bunch of guys who are at least pretty good. Yeah, at least pretty good. I still think of Christian Watson as, I think it was his rookie season, first play of the entire season. Aaron Rodgers, his last season, the Packers throws it deep. Christian Watson right through his hands. And I just think that's a perfect representation of the Packers season that year. Yeah. So I just go back to that. Like, that is the Packers season that year. So much. That's, I want to make that into a meme template, like Packers, 2021 season. It's just that. I guess it was 2022.
2021, 2022, or 2022, 2023?
2022, 2023. Because I think it was Aaron Rodgers' last year with the Packers.
Yeah. So 2022, 2023.
And that was the big question that year is how is Aaron Rodgers going to gel with the receivers? And that was the very, very first play. And the camera went back to Aaron Rodgers after that play, and he was just in shock because he knew Devontae would have caught that easy. And so he's looking at Christian Watson like, all right, this is how this is going to go.
Yeah.
I got another one at Brock Bowers. Yeah, Brock Bowers is such a beast in college. He could definitely just do the same thing in the NFL. I mean, probably not being like top tight end overall, but I mean, if he's even a tight end. But yeah, I could definitely see him just being way better than expected.
For sure.
Yeah. Easily one of the most dynamic tight ends in the NFL right now.
I think Brock Bowers definitely won't have to be struggling with double coverage while he has Devontae also.
True.
Seeing Devontae Adams, I think he definitely will be finding himself in some one-on-one situations.
That's true.
Good.
Yeah, when you have that many players, that really does string out a defense. Speaking of, we've been. I don't know if anybody has anything prepared for I don't, but I'm off the fly. Just off the top of your head, does anybody have any defenses or any defense/special teams that you think, hey, I'm gonna get usually that's like the last thing you draft, or you don't draft them and you just pick them up.
Exactly.
Later.
You draft someone who's on the IR, and then you just pick up a defense or a kicker.
Yeah,
I like to draft a kicker though.
Yeah, because a kicker can be make or break.
Can be, yeah. There's like that top 5, maybe top 10, and then everyone else just week by week.
You're just getting a solid 2 points. You get them 1 week, draft them, get somebody.
Yeah.
Not draft them, cut them, get somebody else.
I mean, for defenses, I'm just happy if I pick one up and I get to use them for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So, that's
and
one.
It depends on. That's another thing with fantasy. It depends on who they're playing.
Mm-hmm.
You might have a really good defense, but then they're playing the Bills, the Chiefs, or something. And you're like, okay,
Yeah.
you know what? We're gonna cut these guys for a week, and then someone picks them up, and you never get them back, and then you're big sad.
Yeah. Well, I just got to say, I cut Garrett Wilson his rookie season, and the game after, he got 27 points.
Yeah.
So, I should have known because they dropped him for a random Colts wide receiver because their depth chart was a little thin, and he got 0. So,
Oh, no. On that, I did in my family league, just 6 people. It was the second round of the playoffs, and someone who had already lost in the first round, I was like, they had a couple good players, and so I don't even remember who I traded, but I traded. No, I do remember who I traded. I gave away Rashad White, who had been, is that right, Rashad White? Yeah, who had been incredibly consistent, like really good since I picked him up like mid-season because one of my I had Nick Chubb and he got injured. Picked him up earlier in the season and he had been like super consistent, but I think the person who had already gotten out in the playoffs had like, I can't even remember, but a good running back for one of the star team, one of the big playoff teams. And so I traded Rashad White, and the running back that I got, I don't even remember, got like 7 points, and Rashad White got like 30 that game. And I was fuming, and I lost, of course. And I was so mad. So yeah, don't be too quick. Mm-hmm. And also, don't be one of those cheaters who trades to people who have already lost in the playoffs.
That's why you make the trade deadline a little earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that happens in our version 1 of our league. So, yeah. Trade deadline has got to be set in stone. Well, obviously, it's a setting in the league. But, yeah, you got to make sure you set that trade deadline.
Yeah. I got to do that.
I say as the manager. So.
Yeah. See, Hank's in control.
So much control. Somehow it also gave me the number 1 pick last year. I don't know.
Being the league commissioner, I'm just saying.
I don't know how that happened.
Not a good look for you.
I picked Justin Jefferson, and so really it ended up being kind of
sad.
That didn't. Yeah, that's what you get.
Yeah, still got 3rd, but
okay. Well, I can't. I got 12.
I mean, yeah,
13,
Rocky. Hey, we got
13.
top 3 right
I
here.
was about to
Yeah.
say, we have top 3 in this room.
And then 12.
Rocky. Yeah, we got
Come on,
Rocky
Baden.
at 1, Tucker at 2, Hank at 3, and Baden at 13th. So, yeah.
Working his way up.
You know what? Sometimes you got to be at the bottom so you can be at the top in the future. You know what they
Definitely.
say? The only place to go from not at the top is up.
Right.
Quote, Wayne Gretzky.
Definitely. Well, I don't think any of my sleepers list would be complete without Tyjae Spears and George Pickens.
Yep.
So
I was waiting.
You say that. You say that every time.
see, y'all listeners have already heard enough about that. I think George Pickens is getting a good amount of respect right now. I do worry a little, especially now that Roman Wilson is hurt. Hopefully they can get some more wide receiver help. Maybe by the time this episode is out, Steelers will have traded for Ayuk. I don't think that'll happen, but I don't know. I mean, that's just a big rumor. So I don't want to put him on my sleeper list because I think he's about at his value right now. Tyjae Spears, again, I think he'll be the clear number one. Great passing back, can still run over people. But I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 more people on my list. I'll go by positions, though, to go quick.
I bet I can guess one of them, but I won't. I'm just going to see if I'm right before I say anything. Continue.
Okay. Yeah, if I say his name, let me know.
I'll definitely.
So, quarterback sleeper, Tua. I don't know how he is so low on quarterback rankings. I mean, he's playing with Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill, and Odell. I mean, Odell's not what he used to be. But throw that out there. I mean, this consensus ranking site has him at 13th.
Really?
And you still have dynamic running backs who can catch the ball.
Yeah.
I wouldn't put Tua top 5, top 10 for sure. I have him ranked at number 7 in my personal rankings. So,
Okay.
It's behind obviously
fair.
people like Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar, and a few others. But I'm not going to share all of that. Maybe I will later. So that's my quarterback sleeper. Running back, besides what I mentioned already, James Cook. I've probably mentioned this in this podcast before, but I think the Bills can be one of the best running teams in the NFL, and James Cook is going to be the head of that. And then Ty Chandler. We saw him have some valuable carries in Minnesota. He's not going to be the number one. Aaron Jones is going to be the number one. But Aaron Jones, we saw injury trouble last year some. Ty Chandler should get some valuable carries. Wide receivers, Zay Flowers. Again, I don't really see how Zay Flowers is as undervalued as he is because he has Lamar Jackson throwing to him. He'll have an even higher target share, and he's insanely dynamic. And he was his rookie season. This is second year, so
Yeah.
I only see him going up. And Ladd McConkey, mentioned him in this podcast before, but I could definitely see him heading the Chargers passing attack. If you're Justin Herbert's number one option, you're going to get some fantasy points.
Yeah.
And then Dalton Schultz, another guy kind of like Tua who performed well last year, and I don't know why. He's this undervalued still. He could be, I don't like Tua. Probably not like top 5 tight end, but top 10 for sure. So,
Okay.
yeah, somewhere in that range. Those are my sleepers. My main ones. So, Tua, Dalton Schultz, probably the most undervalued for star players in my opinion.
For sure. I think for tight end, I guess he's not undervalued. He's ranked pretty high, but just really a big surprise from last year, and I think he'll continue to do well, Sam Laporta. Literally, last year, I didn't have a tight end. My tight end either got injured or I think I just didn't really draft one. I didn't really draft a tight end or something. And so I just saw Sam Laporta. He was like the highest ranked tight end that was left. Picked him up, did not know who he was, and kept him for the rest of the season until like the last couple weeks. And it was like he was really excellent in fantasy wise.
Yeah.
Really good like red zone target.
Yeah.
And so I think he'll do really well. But I guess I don't know if he's a sleeper. He's ranked fairly high. But I think that he'll do really good this season. And then, like you said, you said Zay Flowers?
I did say Zay Flowers.
I think Zay Flowers is going to do really good. And I think some players, one thing that I notice is there's two ways it can go, especially like if you have a really hard playoff loss where you have kind of made maybe one or two critical mistakes. You either can get really in your head about it, and it can kind of start messing with your game and how you play, or if you can get past it and you have that fire lit underneath you, I think that's how Zay Flowers is going to be. I think he's going to have something to prove. I think he's going to come back and be really excellent. So I like that you mentioned him.
Awesome. Next thing I want to talk about, I do not have near as many of these players as I do for sleepers, but is overvalued players.
I was just thinking that.
And then probably a couple more things just about fantasy in general after this.
I started the last few times.
Yeah,
so.
I'll start with mine, and then I'll think of some others probably.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I do have to say, he is valued very well, generally. But like I said, he probably won't be number one again. Now you know who I'm saying. Again, don't feel pressured to take Christian McCaffrey first overall. If you, with whatever draft lottery or magic of being the commissioner and somehow, I promise you I did not do that. I didn't even really want the first overall pick. But don't feel pressured to take Christian McCaffrey first overall. Based on stats, based on trends, he probably won't be number one. Is he the safest pick for number one? Probably. But, we listed others. CeeDee Lamb, Justin Jefferson. Okay, I'm not taking Justin Jefferson first overall again. But Tyreek Hill. Throw someone like Saquon in there. Throw someone like A.J. Brown or Puka Nacua in there. Sleepers, that's what they're for. And so, yeah. Not necessarily overvalued, just don't feel pressured. Mm-hmm. Public service announcement.
For sure.
I will say I do not like how ESPN has Anthony Richardson at number 5. Yeah. Could see him doing pretty good this year, but number 5 I feel like is too high. So
for Anthony Richardson, yeah. I think I've said on the podcast I think he'll be a really good quarterback, but number one, just at number 5 when you have just all the talent and also the team around him, it's good, but I don't know that it results to number 5 in fantasy points.
Yeah. I would say in fantasy there's always a receiver that I look, to take a big jump, go from, top 15, top 10 to top 5. Last year I thought it was going to be Garrett Wilson, and then, the whole Aaron Rodgers situation. Which everybody on the Jets offense that year didn't perform great offensively because of that. But I would say this year, the why Puka Nacua was my number 5 is I think this is just last year. I think he was unarguably top 10. I would think top 15 for sure, but top 10 receiver.
Yeah.
I think this year it's where he makes his jump because there's been pretty much around the same. Tyreek Hill's been in the top 5 for a while. I think Tyreek Hill now getting into 30? He's 30 years old. I think this is where he bumps out and is a 6 or 7 with age. And I think Puka Nacua is going to be a top 5 receiver this year, especially in fantasy.
Okay. Good take.
Chris Olave and Michael Pittman are ranked pretty high on receivers. I don't like that. The Saints are simple. They're not going to be the worst team, but they're going to be one of those teams that you really don't watch the game unless it's your team playing against them, unless you're just a Saints fan or they're playing your team. I just don't think they're going to be very fun to watch. I don't think they're going to be putting up big numbers. Alvin Kamara, always great. Chris Olave, he's a good receiver, but what I'm looking at right now has him ranked 17th overall, not just out of receivers, out of everybody. And I don't think he's that high. And that puts him, he's above Travis Etienne, Devontae Adams, Derrick Henry, who's another person. I don't think Derrick Henry, just looking at, I think he'll be decent in fantasy this year, but when you have Lamar Jackson, Zay Flowers, Mark Andrews, I think that team isn't necessarily, it's not going to be a super run-heavy team. And then, kind of like you were saying with Saquon and Justin Fields taking away some of those red zone touchdowns.
Jalen Hurts.
Jalen Hurts taking away some of those red zone touchdowns. I think you have the same, not problem, but Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson is so good on his feet that they don't have the need to be a super run heavy team. Although it's really good to have a running back like Derrick Henry that have that power and just the sheer intimidation of him and the name Derrick Henry if you're a defender. I don't think that fantasy-wise he's set up to just get massive points, especially to be ranked like in the top 5 running backs on ESPN. I think that's interesting. Like I already said in this podcast, Breece Hall, Bijan Robinson, they're great. Are they top 5 out of everybody? I don't think so. Those are my main sleepers. I think the whole running back rankings are kind of messed up this year.
Yeah.
Not messed up, but I just think that some people are putting stock in some running backs that are not. Like Isaiah Pacheco always does okay, but he's not necessarily racking up a lot of fantasy points, I don't think.
Last year, though, he came in clutch. He's the reason I beat Tucker.
Really?
He got me an extra 2 points than he was supposed to, and I beat Tucker by 2 points.
Hey, all right, so... for Tucker's cringing his head, shaking his head cringing his head. He's cringing and shaking his head right now. But yeah, I would say the running backs, there's a lot of really overvalued guys. Really, I mean, other than the running backs, I don't think that we have too many overvalued players. I think everybody's pretty much, especially the receivers, I think are right where they need to be value-wise. The things I've seen, I think they're putting A.J. Brown a little high. I'm not really on the A.J. Brown train. I think that I just don't know that I trust the consistency there. But this Eagles team hopefully will be a new team. So, yeah, I don't know.
I'd say, yeah, A.J. Brown's not very consistent, but I think having him on your roster, you never know when he can break out a 30-point game.
That is true. Last season, I had A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith on my roster. And it was super cool. Because I also had some other really great receivers, so I never really started A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith. And whenever I would start A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith would have an excellent game, and A.J. Brown would have a terrible game. And then when I'd start Devonta Smith, he would have a terrible game, and A.J. Brown would have a great game. So by the end of the year, I had neither of them.
I would say my favorite number 2 receiver I had, which I loved having on my team last year, Michael Pittman. He had an average of, I think, 15 points a game. This is what this is saying. I don't know if that's right with you. But he had an average of 15 points per game. He literally didn't get under 10 points the entire season, I think. There's, especially as receivers go, sometimes they get like 1 target for 10 yards. And so Michael Pittman, I think he's my favorite number 2 receiver. Definitely not a number 1, but he's definitely my favorite number 2.
That's fair.
Cool. Any overvalued players in your mind, Tucker? Or your favorite overvalued player?
What are your favorite
Your least favorite overvalued player? Whatever.
I already said Anthony Richardson earlier.
True. It's a good point. I forgot about that. Sorry, I was too busy looking at 2022 running back rankings pre-draft. So, sorry. But because I was distracted, I feel like getting called out in class by a teacher now. But just listen to the beauty of the 2022 running back class.
Okay.
I'm just going to list the good names. But Breece Hall, Kenneth Walker, James Cook, Brian Robinson, Rashad White, Damian Pierce, Kyron Williams, Jerome Ford, or Zamir White's a starter now. Jerome Ford had some good production. Tyler Algier. There's one more. Zonovan Knight had a few good games. Jalen Warren. Malik Davis. I just know him because I'm a Cowboys fan. Mm-hmm. And then who was a 7th round pick, Isaiah Pacheco. So
that's deep.
Beautiful running back class there, and I was just admiring that. So
yeah, for sure. That's deep.
All of you can admire that too.
Thank you.
Maybe not 2017 worthy of running back classes. Just looking at that, but we can save that for another time. So those are some overvalued players for y'all. Maybe take my Christian McCaffrey take with a little grain of salt, but whatever.
I'm taking it with a whole tablespoon of
A
salt.
whole tablespoon, yeah.
Specifically, exactly 2 tablespoons of salt.
I will make sure you don't get the first overall pick. Well, and then it's going to go to me, and I'm not going to draft him. And then it's going to go to you.
And then it's going to go to me, and I will draft him.
Yeah.
Use your manager magic.
Yeah.
Whoa, alliteration.
So, despite Christian McCaffrey, let's say you have like the 5th pick in the first round, just a hypothetical. Would you rather draft a wide receiver or a running back? So not like player-wise, not like, okay, these players would be available there. Just which position is more valuable first round and why?
I would say for me, just based off of what Christian McCaffrey did last year, if Christian McCaffrey's there, I'm taking a running back. Sorry, I missed the question. What was the question?
No. He said regardless of player.
Okay.
Like just position-wise. Like
Yeah.
it doesn't matter who's there.
Well, I'd say there's an exception. If it's Christian McCaffrey, I'm taking him in that spot. But with the current running back situation, I would go wide receiver because there's just a lot of unknowns in this current running back rosters. And so I would definitely go wide receiver in the first round over a running back unless it's Christian McCaffrey.
Okay. Cool. Good take.
I'd probably go the same, say wide receiver or running back. Just my opinion, I think they're for running backs. I mean, there's normally like one running back that can be better than most of the others on the team, and for receivers on a lot, like they're just pretty even. So I think there's more like average wide receivers than there are average running backs, which is just I think comes in handy later.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I would say using the same logic as Tucker, but to the counterpoint, first round, pick 5, pick 6, maybe you don't get exactly who you want, but you have the option running back or receiver. I'm going running back because if you wait till round 3, there's still going to be good receivers. At least, like you said, average receivers. And it depends, if you're playing in a league with 6 people, opposed to playing in a league with 14, 16, 20 people. That there's a difference there. There's going to be less options, but the running back room is going to get slim a lot quicker than the receivers. So round 1, I think I'm going to take a running back because if you play a team that has 2 pretty average running backs and then 2 or 3 average receivers, or 1 good receiver and then an average flex, I think is a lot different than if you play a team that has 1 good running back, maybe an average running back, and then a couple decent receivers. Because it's a lot easier to get some good receivers than good running backs. Because there's a lot of deep receiver rooms. There's not a lot of deep running back rooms. You got 2 or 3 in the NFL that it's like, okay, they got 2 or 3 good running backs. Mm-hmm. A lot of times you got 1, and then you got another guy in case that one needs a 2-play rest,
Yeah.
So I'm going running back. Long answer, made short.
It's good.
Running back.
Yeah. I like where y'all are going. In my mind, running backs are very mid-heavy in the NFL. There's a lot of running backs that'll get you about 10 points every game.
Yeah.
It's very easy to find a running back on the waiver wire. People get injured a lot. People come out of nowhere. It's harder to find a quality wide receiver on the waiver wire. I also must add that based on these rankings and everything, and like picking wide receiver versus running back, based off like a standard PPR league, not super flex or anything crazy. I assume if you're in a 2 quarterback league or a super flex league that you're getting professional analysis based solely on that. But this is for standard. Beside that point, I would, in the first round, probably draft a running back because I would rather have a top 5 running back and then maybe even switch through running back 2 draft that one in round 3, round 4, and then find some other ones on the waiver wire or late round sleepers. And then if you draft, let's say, running back first round, wide receivers rounds 2 and 3, you could end up with something like Saquon with your running back if you're mid first round. And then your wide receivers could still be something like Zay Flowers and Marvin Harrison. You still can get quality wide receivers rounds 2 and 3. You're not going to get Tyreek Hill. You're not going to get CeeDee Lamb or Justin Jefferson. But tier 2 or 3 wide receivers you can get in those rounds. So I think it's more valuable to get a top running back quick. But if you're in the market, if like Christian McCaffrey isn't available, but y'all know because of my rankings that I hold Saquon Barkley really highly this season. But I would rather have CeeDee Lamb than than any running back. But like if I have pick 5 and CDs on the board, I'm picking him. I'm picking Justin Jefferson at that point. So it is a little bit based on players, but positionally non-biased, I'd go with running back first round.
Who would, other than Christian McCaffrey, would you pick at the running back spot in the first round?
Well, it depends on who's available because we have a 14-person league.
That's true.
But you said Saquon.
I
would go
so
ETN.
I'll pull up my rankings. See, I think ETN's going downhill a little bit because he was very touchdown dependent not very touchdown dependent. He scored a lot of touchdowns last season.
That's true.
Which is very valuable. I just don't think that's a very repeatable
if you don't
feat.
score as many touchdowns, those points go down.
Yeah, obviously. I do have him still top 10. Where do I have Rachaad White on here? I do not even have Rachaad White top 20, which is probably not good on my part. And
a lot of the fantasy depends on experience too. If you have, and of course, somebody might be really good one season and then terrible the next season. But for me, like when you have Rachaad White every week getting at least 10 points, and you can look that up and see if that's incorrect. But what I remember is he was very consistent for me every week. When you have that, then that makes him a bigger option for the next season. But like if you had asked me who Rachaad White was at the beginning of last draft, fantasy draft, I would not have been able to give you an answer, and I definitely would not have got him. Same thing with Sam Laporta.
Yeah, a
lot of those names you remember because it was somebody that you didn't really think of that really helped you in the season before. But yeah, that's the fun thing about fantasy. You have no idea what's going to happen. Well, you have some idea, but injuries, breakout players.
We don't know the future.
Y'all don't know the future. I'm just kidding.
Well, Rocky, to answer your question, the definite first-round running backs in my mind, Christian McCaffrey, Saquon Barkley, Bijan Robinson, and Jahmyr Gibbs.
Jahmyr Gibbs.
On the fringe,
Tucker shaking his head.
Depends on who else is available. James Cook, as I said, really high on him. Breece Hall, he's not a definite first-rounder, but maybe worth it. Josh Jacobs, I think will have a really good season in the Green Bay offense. Jonathan Taylor can maybe return there. I'm listing a lot of names now, but Kyron Williams, Travis Etienne, those is that 6? Yeah, those 6 guys I think all can be first-rounders. Depending on how big your league is. We have a 14-person league. If you're in a 10-person league, I wouldn't draft ETN in the first round. I wouldn't draft Jonathan Taylor. I'm sorry. Hey, but as you see, we disagree here. So exactly. This is a group of 4 people, 2 different families represented. So, I would. Josh Jacobs is the lowest running back I would consider in a 10-person first round. So,
okay.
Yeah. Go ahead.
All right. Do you think, let's say second round, let's just say do you think that Joe Mixon is worth picking up, let's say second round at the least? Because that's it. If he can stay healthy, I think he can be a weapon on the Texans. The Texans, their run game last year was not the best. It actually was, in fact, pretty bad.
Yeah.
Occasionally,
Devin Singletary, he had a couple good games, but he was not consistent. And
Dameon Pierce was really good his rookie year. He just did not execute his second year. So that running back position is really needed. There's going to be some pressure on him. Do you think that he's worth a first, second round? Well, you already said your first round, so let's say second round pick. You think you could take Joe Mixon if you had to?
Definitely think he's a good second round pick because he showed in the past he can be a top running back.
He is excellent.
But he's probably past his prime.
Okay, yeah.
And looking at Texans, just very deep. Excited to watch their preseason to see how that all stacks up. Football is back, man. It's just so good.
Back, baby.
I mean, deep running back room with Mixon, Dameon Pierce, Cam Akers. I mean, obviously, wide receiver room we've talked about. You have 7, 8, 9 guys who are all capable. So Mixon, I definitely put a second round grade on. Not first round, but if he slips into the third round, I'd pick him up quick. I mean, again, depending on the size of your league.
Yeah, I was saying in a 10-person league, I don't know that I would draft Mixon in the first 2 rounds, just because I would say Mixon's probably outside of the top 10 running backs in my fantasy-wise, just with how many weapons the Texans already have. I would say Isaiah Pacheco is probably I would put better than fantasy-wise. I would put him in the top 10 before I put Joe Mixon in the top 10.
Okay.
Same with a Kyren Williams.
Yeah.
I would put him in there first before I would put Joe Mixon.
And that's the cool thing. You got people like Kyren Williams who, just literally come out of nowhere midway through the season.
And then you also have guys now that, beginning of last season, Nick Chubb and Austin Eckler were at some of the top of the rankings. Now I'm scrolling, and you can't even find an Austin Eckler and a Nick Chubb within the first 20 running backs.
I think there might be a reason for Nick Chubb.
Well, obviously,
but
he doesn't have a kneecap. But I would say it's just within 1 year they're completely out of the top 20.
Yeah, there's just, and that's just not just fantasy, but just football in general. So much can change from preseason to midseason.
Oh, they're actually
that's
on
why
CBS Sports has them ranked back to back. Nick Chubb is 36, and Austin Eckler is the 37th ranked running back for fantasy.
Yeah, but
for CBS Sports.
Yeah, that's why when I just made our family league, and I didn't really know when to put the draft, and so I put August 10th because that'd be before we went to college. And I thought about it, and I was like, August 10th to whenever the first game is, first week of September.
September 5th is the first game, so the weekend before is not Labor Day weekend. I think it's Labor Day weekend.
Yeah, I think so. That's in September.
I always forget which day is when. I should know that.
Yeah,
I'm old enough, but there's some Labor Day, Veterans Day. What's the one after Super Bowl where they're talking about if they move it to an 18-week season? We're looking. Is it President's Day?
President's Day, yeah. But so much can happen in between the first week of August and the first September.
Yeah.
The first week of September. So I'll definitely be adjusting the draft date now that I think about it.
Yeah. Cool.
One thing. So Rocky earlier was saying Michael Pittman was kind of not so bad. He said that it was over 10 points every game. Went and fact checked him. He had a couple games at 4. Had a game.
All right. Well, other than the game where he got the
every game that Rocky started him, which was 1, he got over 10 points. No,
look, there was the Steelers game. Did he get under 10?
Steelers.
The Steelers game, he got the concussion where they ended up kicking the dude out of the game.
He got 11 that
So
game.
remember that. Okay. we can cut that out.
No, we're posting that on our Instagram, and everyone's gonna bully you.
Yeah,
let's do
right.
that.
We need to make an Instagram now.
We do actually.
So every now and then, I accidentally hit the button on Instagram, add another account. I might just do that.
It's hey, yeah, we literally can actually.
So, and then I'm just gonna use that as my only account because I can't keep up with 2 Instagram accounts.
It's true. That's a lot of pressure.
So much pressure. It can't be that popular.
Thanks for listening to the Nice Catch podcast. If you love football, continue to tune in each episode for our football news and analysis.
This is the Nice Catch podcast.